Hello and welcome, Soaring Souls. I'm excited to share with you today a chat about Saucha. Saucha is a purity and cleanliness of the mind, body, spirit, and environment. Saucha is one of the niyamas. So in Patanjali's limbs of yoga, we have the yamas and the niyamas, and then the asanas, the poses. And so really these are very important, and these groups of things they're just like ways we are suggested to be living in order to support our yogi journey. So the Saucha is the first of the niyamas. The niyamas are the ways that we are meant to interact with ourselves, and the yamas are how we are meant to interact with the world. We can apply both of the principles from both to the other. And with Saucha, we work from the outside in. We begin with the purity of our space, the cleanliness of our space. So that could be anything from like mopping and cleaning our toilets to picking up after ourselves. Perhaps having less things to maintain, to clutter up our space. It's said that the mind is clearer when the space is clear. So maybe it's practicing letting go so that we can have less things in our environment to maintain cleanliness. And then cleanliness could also be in the environment around our yoga space. So oftentimes a yoga studio will have you take your shoes off before entering, as it is practicing Saucha to not bring in the world's germs from the bottom of our shoes into the yoga studio, right? And there's often mat spray and cleaning supplies available so that you can maintain a clean mat. And maybe there's opportunities in your life where you can create your own space for practicing your personal practice at home, and maybe you can keep that particular space clear of anything extra excessive and of any dirt or germs, or at least to the best of our ability. And perhaps it's just a ritual right before we begin because we don't have that sort of space, but maybe it's just a cleansing ritual before we begin in that space. So Saucha can also be cleanliness and purity of what we put into our bodies. It can be eating foods that are less processed, with less additives, less preservatives, and extra ingredients that aren't originally found in those foods, maybe the way they were grown or harvested. So maybe finding foods that are free from pesticides and toxins, or if we don't have that availability, finding good cleansing rituals for our food to try to wash as much of residues that we can off of our foods before we let them into our body. Or maybe it's not about the actual purity of each individual food, but maybe it's about a moderation of whatever food. Maybe it's not drinking too much alcohol, or ideally really any alcohol. Maybe it's not eating too much meat, which some might say we shouldn't be eating any meat. Or perhaps not eating too many sweets. And again, some might say we shouldn't eat any sweets unless they're natural fruit. So, this is all open to interpretation, and but in general, what we put into our body is the fuel for our body. So if we're wanting to live a life that is full, then we need to provide the body with the nutrients to support that, the energy that is needed to have a vibrant life. So, and then going more into Saucha in the everyday, it could be what we allow to enter into our minds through the medias that we subject ourselves to, through social medias, through the television, through music. What words are we allowing? What messages are we allowing to enter into our minds that may be that we have to fight against internalizing. So what can we remove from what is being allowed into our minds that may help us to live a more pure life? It may be the books that we're choosing to read, or maybe it's the company we're choosing to keep. Is the energy in the spaces that we're putting ourselves in feeding into positive? Is it good for our future goals? Is it supporting the direction that we want our life to be going? Or do we need to cleanse some of the energy, maybe some of the habits that we find ourselves in, bringing ourselves to maybe a similar friend group, or maybe we need to find habits that bring us into community that is a more healthy space for us to be in, or whatever it may be. So speaking in very vague things here, maybe something applies for you. Saucha can also look like, let's see, what we're eating, our environment, what we're allowing in, what we're allowing our eyes to see, what we're allowing our heart to take on, making sure that we're balancing the hardnesses of life with self-care, keeping our spirit fresh and clean. The purity of our thoughts and our mouth, our speech. So maybe it's being more mindful with our negative self-talks, or anything else that could be gunking up our mind with dirt. So being aware of our mental habits and patterns, and seeing if we can't declutter up any clutter, and add some sparkle in there, maybe a little extra self-love. And then from the mouth, keeping what comes out of our mouth pure. So this would be being able to express our emotions without exploding, maybe allowing our breath to ground us before moving in action. This would be not speaking with cruelty, not name calling, or this could even be as simple as not passing untruths. It could be not allowing what may not be your information to be passed through your mouth. It may be limiting gossip, or it could be if we're finding impure thoughts of judgments, not allowing them to come out of our mouth, but catching them before they can be released. Other forms of Saucha. So you can see there are so many examples of ways that we can act in purity through the outward in. And the goal is to start with the outward, cleanse the space, work towards the inner, and by that inner cleanliness surrounded by outer cleanliness, you'll be at more easy opportunity to reach oneness, the connectedness with mind, body, spirit, all beings, if you believe in a higher power or higher self. So that oneness, that connection, and ultimately a pure and positive life. So whenever you don't feel like being on the mat, just clean. Cleaning is actually one of the first things that we can do in our yoga journeys. So if you are cleaning, you are doing yoga. Keep practicing and enjoy your clean space. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If it was helpful to you, please share it with a friend. Thanks so much. Namaste.